Hey, welcome back to another night of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, November edition, because, well, I'm far behind schedule. Anyway, tonight I'm going to revisit one of the topics we did last year, which is a tool called Shodan, because I found some interesting content on it and I thought it'd be a good time to revisit it. So, this isn't my discovery. This was actually something I saw on LinkedIn. A guy named Jeremy Oakes. He was the founder and he runs a company called Automation Theory, and they specialize in um, managed services, WAFs, and protecting RMM tools, documentation tools, things like that. So, really neat series he did on LinkedIn, just talking about finding tools that MSPs use out on the open internet using Shodan, which I thought was pretty clever and fun. So I thought I'd share it. So shout out to Jeremy, really good work. But for those who don't know, Shodan is a research tool that scans the internet and looks for things, right, and documents them. Um, you can sign up. It's not very expensive. And with it, you can do searches for things out on the internet. And what Jeremy was looking for is something kind of clever. He found how to search for the hashes of the favicons that websites use to look for common self-hosted tools from managed service providers. So in his example, the one I was goofing around with a little bit is hunting down ConnectWise PSA users. Um, ConnectWise is a behemoth in the MSP space. Obviously, they make a lot of different tools, everything from PSA, which is their professional services automation. It used to be called ConnectWise Manage. Prior to that, it was just called ConnectWise because it was their original tool. Um, but it's the tool that most managed service providers use for tracking things like customers. It's what a lot of MSPs use for invoicing. It's their ticketing system. It's a at times a procurement tool. So it's a pretty heavy tool for most organizations. And the idea that with a quick little search of a hash, uh, using something like Shodan, you can find a bunch of companies that are self-hosting. I was obviously digging around in Hawaii to see which one of my peers in Hawaii was using ConnectWise, and I was able to definitely find a few that you can locate these organizations. Now, obviously, there's a lot that you can do there, right? If one of these organizations happens to have a vulnerability that's made public, this is a quick way to locate them. Um, but the other one that he kind of brought up that I thought was also kind of neat was tooling like Hoodoo. Hoodoo is another MSP tool predominantly used for documentation management, sometimes password management, things like that. So, ConnectWise is the tool that we use to track what we do for customers and the work, the notes, the things like that. Hoodoo is what MSPs use for documentation, standard operating procedures, things along those lines, both internal and for customers. And once again, he could do a search just based on HTML and looking for the favicon hash. Very clever stuff. Shodan's pretty powerful. If you dig into it a little bit, you can do things. This is the same search for Hoodoo. You can see, there's about 18, almost 1,900 of them I was able to locate in the U.S. You can kind of see which organizations are hosting them. A lot of the DigitalOcean stuff is self-hosted by Hoodoo. Actually, if you dig into it, it's the Hoodoo Cloud domain, so not a big deal. But you can also kind of find who's self-hosting, where they're located, maybe what ports are open, and then through Shodan, dig right in and connect to it. Um, so yeah, that's Shodan. I mean, understanding that tools like this kind of exist on the internet, interesting use cases for them. Whether you're someone like me who's just kind of out there poking around and looking for interesting things, that's neat. If you're a bad guy, you could be searching for open RDP ports. If you're a competitor and you just want to know what stack your competition's using, maybe this is a good way to kind of do some investigation and see who's using the same tools as you, who's maybe using different tools than you, maybe what tools they're using, and what that kind of looks like in your geography. But from a security perspective, lots of implications. So understand, I guess, that none of this stuff is really a secret, right? If it's out on the internet, somebody's scanning it, somebody's doing discovery, it's out there to find. And this is kind of why you have to be so diligent about protecting yourself. Throw a WAF in front of your servers if you're self-hosting. There's this ongoing argument, usually, especially with MSPs, that what is more secure, self-hosting it or hosting it with a vendor? Vendor hosted, the argument is usually that, well, they're a much bigger target, right? If somebody goes after ConnectWise directly or Kaseya directly or any of these big vendors, there's a lot to be won if you're successful. Versus if you self-host, maybe you're a smaller target and therefore you're not going to be targeted as much because maybe people won't notice you. But tools like this really eliminate that kind of methodology, right? You can't really hide. It's as simple as a quick search. You're able to pop up who's using the tooling, and if there is a vulnerability announced or somebody's just looking because they found a vulnerability, well, you're going to be there, right? Um, so be aware. You have to kind of make a decision for yourself whether you're going to self-host, let a vendor host for you. But one way or the other, make sure you're protecting yourself. Make sure you understand what your attack surface looks like. And if you're a security person, just go goof around on Shodan. It's a super cool tool. Like memberships go on sale pretty often for fairly cheap. Enjoy it. It's neat. Cybersecurity Awareness Month continues into November with here at MSP Culture because we're falling behind in October. So have a great night, everybody. And yeah. Have fun.